Hi guys. So the other day I gave a class on pendulum work, and I had a lot of questions about what pendulums are, what their purposes are, and how you can use them. Um, Obviously, those of you who attended my class already have all those answers. But for those of you who weren't able to make it, I'm going to do a short video kind of giving you a quick lowdown. I can't, of course, give you the entire hour-long content of the class, but we'll do a quick distilled version. Okay, so here's an example of a pendulum. As you can see, it's a crystal, a rock, something heavy on a chain of some kind or a cord. And what do people use them for? They use them for a lot of things. You can use them the same way you would use dowsing rods. You can ask them yes or no questions. Um, you can ask them things like, is an object I've lost in this room? Is so-and-so coming to visit? That kind of thing. It's yes or no questions. You can also use them with a pendulum board, which is a board similar to a spirit board that has alphabet, numerical figures on it, as well as the yes and no. Now with your pendulum, if you already have one of these guys, then you already know. But for those of you who don't, I'm just gonna figure that we're complete newbies here. So, for those of you who don't already have a pendulum, when you acquire a pendulum, you want to sit with it and meditate with it and get to know it. We have a lot of different ones here. So, one like this one, for example, you would sit with it and hold it in your hand and sit with it and kind of meditate and get to know it. And, when I did my class, we were all doing some work together, and so I wanted all of the pendulums to have the same yes and no indicators. But for your private use, you will ask the pendulum if it swings clockwise or counterclockwise, one to indicate yes, one to indicate no. So you'll ask your pendulum, which indicators it's going to use for yes or no. Same way if your pendulum swings right or left. You'll ask it, show me, yes, show me no. And your pendulum should do that. And if your pendulum doesn't answer that question, then you can sit with it and meditate with it some more and use a standardized clockwise for yes, counterclockwise for no, until your pendulum does give you those answers. Again, you can use them to look for water. You can use them to look for spirits if you take them out in the cemetery or something, or where you think there might be spirit activity. Some people like to use them for that, and ask yes or no questions, is someone here, that kind of thing. I would suggest that if you do choose to use your pendulum in that way, that if you open any doors or invite anything, you close those doors behind you. Just by saying, well, I thank you for your time and we've appreciated our visit, but it's ended now, and go in peace, that kind of thing, Because a lot of people, especially this time of year, they go out and they invite things home without meaning to, so just be mindful of that. You can use it, like I said, as an intuitive tool. If your friend loses an object, you can ask your pendulum, did they leave that object in their car? And the pendulum should indicate yes or no. Now, different pendulums are made out of different crystals, and that's going to matter too, because some people are more in tune with certain crystals than others. And certain times of year are, for example, my class had moonstone, because this time of year the veil is thin and moonstone is a stone that pierces the veil. But, if you're somebody who, you are a very timid person and you want a louder voice, you might choose to have a tiger's eye pendulum. Or if you're somebody who, likes quartz or whatever, you may choose to pick up a quartzite pendulum. It's just going to kind of be a preferential thing. I always encourage people to kind of, sit with the pendulum if they're interested in, buying one, and just kind of sit with it for a minute and see if you and it get along, because it's a tool. And like any tool, it has to fit your hand, fit your purpose, and fit into your program. So just, again, be mindful of that if you're picking out your first pendulum. We have, Here we have quite a few that are in different price ranges, but I would go for, you know, what jives with you as far as the quality and, you know, the way you feel about it, rather than just buying the first thing you find, you know. And it's hard because these are a tool, and again, like I've said, tools are something that you have to handle. So you can buy one online, but I prefer to handle mine and buy them from an actual shop. I've always felt that way, even before we came here. So all the ones I have, I've handled or created myself. Um, but anyway, now you have the basics of pendulum magic, and you can make a board if you're just starting out or you've just bought your first pendulum. It's perfectly okay to take a piece of notebook paper, write yes and no on it, and you know, use that to kind of start off. And also, some people struggle with your pendulum having inertia or not having inertia. Now, you know, I know that's all kind of sciencey, but you know, inertia is when an object is still and has, you know, potential inert energy in it, and kinetic energy is when it starts moving. Now, some people can hold on to a pendulum, and because they're a high energy person, or because, you know, the powers that be want to speak to them, their pendulum may move, and they may not struggle at all with that. The pendulum may just start swinging like crazy. But some people need a little nudge, and it's okay if you programmed your pendulum that, you know, counterclockwise is one answer, clockwise is another answer. If you gently just give your pendulum, and I'm going to still this one, if you just give your pendulum a gentle back and forth nudge, so that it goes back and forth, eventually it will start to spiral into either clockwise or counterclockwise if you hold it, if something does have, you know, something to tell you. So it's okay to do that, as long as, you know, you've already determined that back and forth is not yes or no. Back and forth is just back and forth. And, you know, clockwise or counterclockwise are your yes and no indicators. Now, if you've indicated that, you know, back and forth is yes or no, then, you know, you'll have to use the inert method, where you just hold it still and hope that it's going to do something. And again, some people have great luck with that. You're going to just have to handle your pendulums and work with them to figure out what methods are best for you. But it's an easy tool. It's not scary. And again, there are people who use them. You can walk out in a field and look for water, and sometimes the pendulum will swing back and forth the way a dowsing rod would cross if you're looking for water. Or, like I said, if you're looking for something else. Some people even use them to go treasure hunting with. I don't know that I've ever had any luck, but I know some of you guys out there have. Okay, guys, so if you have any questions, you can always come see us or message us over here at the Cat and the Crow. We're always happy to help. And this has been your friendly neighborhood crystal witch. Have a great day, folks.